You know what's crazy? A woman can walk away from a good man and not feel a single ounce of regret, at least not in the beginning. She convinces herself she's doing the right thing. She tells herself she deserves better, that maybe she can find someone more exciting, more confident, more alpha. And you, the man who gave her everything, your time, your loyalty, your protection, you're left wondering how she could just erase you like that. But here's the truth no one tells you. She doesn't actually forget you. She buries you deep, because deep down she knows she's walking away from something real. Hey, before we go deeper into this, if you're the kind of man who's tired of being misunderstood, manipulated, or taken for granted, then make sure you subscribe and hit that like button right now. Because on this channel, we decode the female mind, truthfully, raw, and unfiltered, so you can finally stop playing blind in a game designed to confuse you. Now, let's talk about when the regret begins. Because it always begins. But not when you think. A woman doesn't start regretting losing a man right after the breakup. No. Her ego protects her. She needs to believe she made the right choice. So she posts pictures, she flirts, she acts like she's glowing up. But what she's really doing is fighting silence, the silence where your absence echoes louder than your presence ever did. She starts to remember how calm she felt around you, how your energy grounded her chaos, how she felt safe being her most unfiltered self. The first stage of her regret is quiet. It comes at night when she's scrolling through her phone and sees your name in old messages. It's not guilt, it's confusion. She wonders, was I the problem? But her pride answers back, no, he just wasn't the one. Yet that voice grows weaker each week because deep down she knows she walked away from a man who genuinely cared. And as time passes, she'll see that men who appear more exciting often come with chaos, inconsistency, and ego. That's when her mind starts comparing. Because once a woman experiences peace with a man, every storm after that feels unbearable. And that's the beginning of her silent downfall, the slow, haunting realization that she didn't just lose a man, she lost her emotional anchor. Regret is a strange thing in a woman's heart. It doesn't hit like a thunderstorm. It creeps in like a shadow. At first, she won't admit it. She'll distract herself with new faces, fake confidence, and endless validation. She'll tell her friends she's happier now, that leaving you was empowering. But when the nights get long and the silence gets heavier, something inside her starts whispering the truth. She misses the version of herself that existed when you were in her life. See, women don't just fall for men. They fall for how they feel around a man. You gave her stability when her world was loud. You gave her calm when her emotions screamed. And no matter how far she runs, she'll never forget that. But here's where it gets deeper. When she took you for granted, she wasn't trying to hurt you. She was testing your boundaries. It's part of the female psyche. Some women push away the very thing they crave just to see if it will chase them. It's control. It's emotional curiosity. But when the man stops chasing, when he becomes quiet, focused, detached, that's when the reality hits her like a wave. The man she thought would always be there isn't. The attention she assumed was endless suddenly disappears. And that's the moment regret truly begins. Because now, she's not just missing you, she's missing her reflection in your eyes. The way you made her feel seen, valued, adored. And the most haunting part, she can't get that feeling back from anyone else. You see, a man who loved deeply leaves a mark that no casual fling or surface-level connection can replace. And once she realizes that kind of loyalty doesn't come twice, she starts reliving every memory, every moment she overlooked. That's when she stalks your profile, quietly, never liking a post, but always watching. She wants to know if you've moved on, if someone else now gets that version of you she was too blind to appreciate. And that thought burns her ego from the inside out. Because regret isn't about missing you. It's about realizing she lost a man who would have never given up on her. That's when the pride starts to crack, and the emotions she buried so deeply start clawing their way back to the surface. Here's where the psychology turns dark. When a woman begins to feel that regret, she won't come out and say it. Her pride won't allow that kind of vulnerability. Instead, she'll try to reconnect indirectly. Maybe she'll send a casual text, "Hey, just checking in." Or she'll respond to your story with a harmless emoji. It seems innocent, but it's not. It's a test. She's trying to see if that emotional door she once slammed shut is still open. Most men fail this test. They rush back, they reply instantly. They still crave closure, or worse, they still crave her validation. But here's the truth you were never told. When a woman regrets losing you, she's not necessarily ready to value you again. Sometimes she just misses the feeling of being wanted by you. And when you give her that attention too easily, you confirm her old belief that you'll always be there, waiting. That's when she walks away again, even faster than before. So what should you do? Nothing. Silence is your power. Distance is your weapon. The same absence that once drove you crazy will now drive her deeper into her own mind. Because when a man detaches, he triggers something in a woman that few understand. Emotional reflection. She starts replaying every moment she disrespected you, every time she dismissed your worth, every time she saw your love as weakness instead of strength. That's the turning point. The moment she realizes your value wasn't in what you said or did, it was in your energy, your steady presence, your patience, your calm strength. She starts noticing how other men don't provide that, how they talk more but care less, how they act confident but lack substance. And suddenly all the little things she once ignored about you become priceless in her mind. But here's the real sting. She can't undo what's been done. She can't rewind to the moment before she pushed you away. She can't take back the words, the distance, or the arrogance that made her believe you'd never walk away. That's when regret turns into longing, and longing turns into emotional torment, because deep down, she knows she lost something rare, something real, and the moment she realizes you're no longer reachable, that's when her own mind becomes her punishment. When a woman realizes she can't reach you anymore, her world starts to crumble in ways you'll never see. Outwardly, she'll still smile, still post pictures, still pretend she's living her best life. But behind that mask, her mind becomes a battlefield of what-ifs. What if I'd just been more patient? What if I hadn't compared him to someone else? What if I hadn't walked away so easily? These questions haunt her every quiet moment because the female psyche is wired for emotional connection, and when she loses the one man who made her feel genuinely safe, her mind doesn't let her forget it. She'll start idealizing the memories. Every little thing you did, things she barely noticed before, will now play in her head like a movie she wishes she could rewind. The way you listened without judgment, the way your presence felt solid when everything else in her life was falling apart. She'll replay your last arguments too, and for the first time, she'll realize how unfair she was, how much she projected her insecurities onto you. And that realization cuts deep because it's not just regret, it's shame. See, a woman's ego protects her during the breakup, but her emotions avenge you afterward. When the dopamine of freedom fades, reality sets in. No one loves her the way you did. No one cares with the same depth. No one stays calm in the face of her chaos like you did. That's when she starts reaching back into the past, trying to resurrect something that's already gone. Maybe she'll post something that reminds her of you. Maybe she'll ask mutual friends about you. Or maybe she'll quietly try to trigger your attention again, because deep down, she's not looking for love. She's looking for redemption. But here's the irony. The moment you stopped trying to fix her, she finally started to see her own brokenness. The moment you stopped explaining your worth, she finally began to feel it. Because women only start regretting when they realize a man's silence is not weakness, it's finality. And the man they once overlooked has now evolved beyond her reach. She'll never say it out loud, but in her heart, she'll know she didn't just lose you. She lost the version of herself that only existed when you loved her. This is the stage most men never get to witness, the quiet breakdown behind her confidence. When a woman truly begins to regret losing a good man, it doesn't happen in dramatic ways. It happens in the stillness, in the middle of an ordinary day, when she catches herself thinking about how safe it felt to just be with you, when she compares every man she meets to you, even though she swears she's moved on, when she starts realizing that no matter how many compliments she gets, none of them carry the same weight as your words once did. That's when the truth settles in her chest. She underestimated the man who loved her purely, and that's a pain deeper than heartbreak. It's identity loss. Because you weren't just someone she dated. You were the mirror that reflected her softness, her vulnerability, her better self. Without you, she's forced to face a truth she never wanted to admit. She pushed away the one person who truly saw her, and now she's surrounded by people who only see what she pretends to be. Psychologically, this is called emotional displacement, when regret turns inward and starts reshaping how she views love itself. She starts doubting her choices, her instincts, even her worth. Because when a woman loses a man who genuinely cared, she doesn't just lose love, she loses a sense of emotional safety that can't be easily replaced. And while she's trying to rebuild that peace through distractions, new relationships, parties, work, anything, nothing fills the void. Because regret is not about missing the person. It's about realizing that what she thought was replaceable was actually once in a lifetime. That's why so many women return months or even years later, not because they suddenly want the man back, but because they never found that feeling again. They want to see if it's still possible, if the door is still cracked open. But by then, it's too late, because the man she took for granted has grown, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He's no longer the same man she left. He's stronger, colder, and wiser. And that's the moment that truly breaks her. Not your absence, but your evolution. Watching the man she once dismissed become the man every other woman now desires. By the time her regret fully matures, something irreversible happens. She finally sees you for who you truly were. But now, you're out of reach, and that realization is brutal. Because in her mind, she starts to rewrite the story. She begins to see how patient you were when she was unpredictable, how you stayed calm when she was emotional, how you listened when others only judged. She remembers how your presence grounded her, how your silence used to feel peaceful, not distant. And now that silence feels like a punishment she can't escape. That's the cruel poetry of regret. It arrives when change is no longer possible. You see, a woman may move on physically, but emotionally, a part of her stays trapped in the past, in the memory of the man she took for granted. Every time she meets someone new, she'll unconsciously measure them against you. Their words, their energy, their patience, none of it will ever quite match. And when she realizes that, she won't be angry at you. She'll be angry at herself. Because here's the truth. Men who love deeply don't beg for validation forever. They withdraw, they rebuild, they rise. You became the man she always wanted, but she had to lose you to recognize it. And now, every time she sees your success, your calm, your confidence, it reminds her that she was once part of that journey, and she threw it away. That's the moment regret turns into grief. Because she didn't just lose a lover, she lost her emotional home. But listen carefully. Your story isn't about her anymore. Her regret is not your responsibility. Her loss is not your burden to fix. Because when a man learns his worth, the balance shifts forever. The power returns. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop explaining and you start living. You stop waiting for her to realize your value because you already have. And that's the ultimate revenge. Peace. When she finally reaches out, hoping for the old version of you, she'll meet a man who's evolved beyond her understanding, a man who no longer seeks closure because he is the closure. So if you're that man, if you've been taken for granted, forgotten, or overlooked, remember this: she will regret it. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day she'll look back and realize you were the one thing she should have never let go. And when that day comes, you'll smile, not out of bitterness, but out of freedom, because you've become everything she lost and everything she can never have again.